tariffs.
Yeah, and we have a great guest to talk all about it. Brad Carson, he does think about tariffs on high tech, specifically data centers and other infrastructure use that are used in AI tools. He is the co-founder and president of Americans for Responsible Innovation. And their mission is to, quote, help U.S. policymakers develop a thoughtful governance framework for rapidly advancing technologies that protects the public from harm while continuing to foster innovation. He's also a former congressman, served 2 terms in the House as a Democrat in Oklahoma's 2nd District. He's a veteran, worked in the Obama administration, general counsel of the Army and undersecretary of the Army, among other roles. In other words...
Yeah, we're out of time, Brad. Sorry.
You come at things from different perspectives, which is what we always like to talk to. Brad, talk to us about tariffs and how you're thinking about them as we get ready for what's to come in less than 24 hours.
Well, great to be with you. And as you said in our mission statement at ARI, we want to be thoughtful, and tariffs have trade-offs. And when it comes to AI, there are some real negative effects possibly of our race to build giant data centers necessary for the next generations of AI, because Chinese parts, as well as parts from Mexico and Canada, are really essential to that what's really exponential growth in building these kind of massive data centers. So it's going to increase the cost, probably slow down the progress, and that is one of the trade-offs that policymakers should be thinking about.
Mexico and Canada, not usually on our radar when we think about the high tech. It's usually China. It's usually overseas. What is it?
Well, we import more IT equipment from Mexico at $43 billion a year than we do from China or Canada each, which are about $30 billion a year. And so there's a lot of kind of IT equipment coming through all of those nations. Certainly on the high tech end, you do think of China or South Korea, Japan. But
right.
A lot of the equipment, construction equipment, the racks, servers like that could come from China, but also from Mexico and Canada. So all of those countries will be affected by the tariffs, and will certainly affect what will be, we're talking data center construction costs that are $50–60 billion aspirationally from the big companies like Google and Amazon. So these are very expensive projects, and the costs could go up 3 to 5%, maybe even more than that.
I'm curious how you look at the U.S. versus China when it comes to this technology. How would you characterize the race, the AI race between these two countries? Who's winning right now?
I think the U.S. is winning, and we're likely to win. And I think the gap between the U.S. and China, which today might be 6 to 12 months, is likely to grow over time as the various export restrictions, which will keep China from accessing at scale the chips necessary to produce the so-called frontier models, they begin to have more teeth. And so the U.S. is in the lead. The big labs in the U.S. are where all these products are being developed, and we need to make sure we keep that lead and that it's not stolen through espionage. Cybersecurity protections are critical to U.S. labs. So we can maintain the technological lead that we will develop in the United States.
Wait, what makes you so confident that the U.S. is going to hold its lead here?
Well, the big input into it are, of course, chips. And the chips are where the export controls will restrict China's access to them. And so over time, again, there's a lot of cheating and kind of subterfuge on those, but the U.S. is going to dominate that chip market. So that's part of it. We have the best engineers in the world here. The big labs, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, right, are U.S. companies, and they're likely to continue to be at the very frontier of that. So we have the best chips, we have the best engineers, we have the best culture in which to develop these kinds of things. And so I think, unless we really mess it up, the U.S. should maintain a lead that others could steal, perhaps to match, but are unlikely to kind of natively develop on their own.
Brad, you spent 4 years in the House serving your constituents. You also spent quite a bit of time in Washington during the Obama administration. Are you in touch at all with your former colleagues in the House? And if you are, do they get this?
I am in touch with my former colleagues a lot. I go up there a couple times a month, often to talk to them about AI issues. And they're not really, I think, aware of the effect of the tariffs on AI. And AI itself is just becoming an issue on the Hill. Most congressmen are not technically literate. They're not engineers. They're more likely businessmen or lawyers, teachers perhaps. And so these are very complicated issues. And while tariffs, I think, probably have a lot of people agitated on Capitol Hill, the effect of tariffs on AI data centers is probably not something that most people are yet paying attention to, but they should.
It's really kind of interesting because we've talked so much about like this tech war between the United States and China. And listening to your conversation, it just feels like you sound like we really don't have anything to be worried about. Is that fair? Am I misreading you?
Now, I think we have something to be worried about
Okay.
because we know that other countries will try to steal our best techniques, right? So unless our labs have exquisite cybersecurity, the idea that other nations wouldn't steal our best models, we know, for example, that Chinese espionage in the defense sector is pervasive, right?
But there's espionage that goes both ways, right? To be fair.
Sure, absolutely. We have more to lose when you have the exquisite technology. You have a lot more to lose by people stealing it, right? They're trying to get it from you. So,
but do you think that? Then do you think something like DeepSeek, in your view? I mean, from all assessments so far, it just sounds like China's figuring this out, and maybe they can do, AI models in a much more productive, energy efficient, less expensive way. So it does sound like there's expertise there as well.
Oh, there's incredible expertise. Universities like Tsinghua or Peking are among the best in the world. Chinese engineering culture is extraordinary. They're turning out many more STEM graduates per year than we are. So I don't underestimate what the Chinese can do. But I think most people believe that there would have been no DeepSeek without, say, a Chat GPT. They used American models to so-called distill. They're probably hearing things in San Francisco dinner parties that get back to China about how to do things, techniques. So I think America is still the leader. But again, we have to safeguard it by building data centers, by turning out engineers, by securing our models that we do develop here, and making sure that these export controls really do take effect so that the Chinese can't import the top NVIDIA chips that are so essential to making frontier models. So we have to be wary. But I think we need to realize that the U.S. has a lead and that our job is to secure it and make sure that nobody can catch us.